beautiful room. I love when I'm in line to come into a place and I see all these faces that I haven't seen in a while. People I want to see, people who are lovely, people who inspire me. That's what happened when I was in line for the Step and Repeat. I got to see some of the most beautiful faces, I think, personally, in Hollywood. And not just on the inside, but on the outside, too. You look good, people. Yeah. I am so honored to be here tonight to present an award as one Philly kid to another Philly kid. So, Ahmir Questlove Thompson is one of the most prodigious producers of media today, literally blazing a trail across media genres and platforms. His work has been a profound cultural and social impact by reshaping music, preserving Black history, and amplifying underrepresented voices. As the co-founder and drummer of The Roots, he revolutionized hip-hop by introducing live instrumentation and blending genres, helping shape the neo-soul movement and influencing artists across generations, including me. Beyond performance, Questlove has become a cultural historian and storyteller through his Oscar and Peabody-winning documentary, Summer of Soul, one of my favorites, which revived the forgotten legacy of the 1969 Harlem Cultural Festival and highlighted the erasure of Black artistry from mainstream narratives, as well as the Emmy-nominated Sly Lives, aka The Burden of Black Genius, and, ladies and gentlemen, 50 years of SNL music. He is the author of many books, including Music is History. He's also a producer. I don't know if you guys have heard about the cast album of Hamilton, among many others. And he's a podcaster with the podcast Questlove Supreme, which he really wants me to come on, but I'm afraid that I'm going to say something weird and get canceled. But it's a lovely podcast. You should, don't use this opportunity to yell at me, but it's a wonderful podcast. Through his books, teaching, and curatorial work, he has deepened public understanding of the intersections between music, race, and social change. By using his platform to advocate for representation, equity, and cultural preservation, Questlove has transcended the role of musician to become a vital cultural archivist and social commentator, ensuring that Black creative contributions remain celebrated and remembered. For this, the Peabody Awards are honored to present Ahmir Questlove Thompson with this year's Trailblazer Award.
How you doing? All right, so welcome to the ambush version of Questlove Supreme with our guest, Quinta Brunson. Quinta, so tell me about your beginnings in Philadelphia. No, I'm playing. Okay, I don't know where to stand, but... all right, so those of you who know me know of my legendary reluctance to receive flowers or celebrate myself, which is a thing of the past. I'm allowing that. Stop. No. I'll just say that. We're clearly in. Some of us say it's different times. A lot of us say this is the same time it's always been. This being October of 1925. Facts. We're living in a time when our stories, our histories are being marginalized, the revisionist history, book banning. It's more prevalent than ever. And, in the wake of the overwhelming challenges that we have, it's easy to retreat. There's many a morning where I don't feel like waking up out of bed at all. And, I've learned this period to take, life one day at a time, which, if you know me, I'm also a meticulous planner. I'm planning on what my life is and what DJ gig I'm doing in 1920. Here I am we are in the 1920s. Yeah. in 2029, 19, same thing. But I can't emphasize enough, and I know it sounds cliche, but I can't emphasize. Well, first of all, my gratitude to the Peabody organization for deeming me worthy of this this honor, but the importance of our storytelling and preserving history and keeping our records alive and our recipes alive and really celebrating ourselves, celebrating our art. And I encourage all you creatives in here, and if you're not a creative, you know someone that is creative, you might be parents of people who are creative. And it's important to encourage them to not ignore their inner voice. I wake up with regrets of at least the first half of my life of always dismissing ideas because I think it's too dumb or they might laugh at you or whatever. But now is the time more than ever for that, simply because it's cathartic, it's therapeutic, but it's necessary. And right now, joy is an act of rebellion. So I thank you for celebrating me with this honor. Thank you.
You went to the Philadelphia High School for the Creative and Performing Arts, and Mr. Trotter, I believe, is here. Isn't that right? Is he here tonight? Your classmate,
is somewhere here.
Tariq? Is he back there somewhere? But you also went to school with Christian McBride, the great jazz bassist, Joey DeFrancesco, Kurt Rosenwinkel, Little John Roberts. Little John was a drummer for Janet Jackson, among others. And the Boyz II Men guys. And
Mel LaRue also.
I mean, It's just an amazing experience. And so my first question for you, when you're growing up and you're in this Petri dish, you don't see it. But later, and we are older now, you look back and think, wow, what an amazing creative experience. So I'd love to hear your comments on how was that experience, that high school, but in particular Philly, as shaping you as an artist, now that you can look back?
Yeah, without sounding too much like whatever hip-hop Forrest Gump. Here's the thing. Yes, I do recognize that I am a creative, but part of me also enjoys at least the illusion or delusion that I created for myself of being the luckiest guy in the house to have the best seat in the house. Part creative, part suit, or part fan, or whatever category you want me to put me in. But part of me always knew that I was in a historical period. You clearly knew that Boyz II Men were going to be something amazing. I mean, the first day of school, Miles Davis, the first week of school, Miles Davis is pulling both Joey and Chris, to start performing. So that's the environment I'm coming into. So for me, I don't know. It's weird because now I have more trepidation than ever, because I'm a classic overthinker, and oftentimes you talk yourself out of a good thing. But I mean, the fact that Tariq and I actually had, this harebrained scheme of, hey, let's go busking on South Street and see what happens. Like today, I won't take a DJ gig unless I get like an absolute makeup of all the demographics that are coming to see me. Like, all right, well, who are you inviting? Okay, and what, because I'm an overthinker. But I mean, the fact that we knew we had something and kind of stepped in faith to do it, and it landing us here at this very moment, I can't dismiss that. So I kind of knew in the back of my mind that I was in something historical.
Well, when I look at your work, I see you as a curator, as artist. So my dad was an archivist, but I would not call him an artist, excuse me. But when I do look at your work, I do see this curatorial thing that is significant in how you approach your art. And artists are always students, even as masters. And you have a collection of over 200,000 albums, tapes, comics, material objects of media So talk to us a little about how does such material objects inspire you as a curator and cultural historian?
Well, first of all, I grew up in a house with about 3,000 to 4,000 records. And that's just for what my dad did for a living, because he was a band leader and you had to know the songs of the moment. So we grew up with a library of records. It wasn't until when we first got our record deal, I met Biz Markie, who at that time, at the time I just thought he was a hoarder, because literally, Biz was the, yo, Quest, I got the new share dial. Like, he would, lunch boxes, dolls, toys, anything. Like, Biz actually had 2 other houses with just his collection. I don't know. I think that my passion for buying records in some sort of way, that's probably the happiest memory I have with my dad. I grew up in a time period in which twice a month we would binge shop. Again, my father was in his nightclub phase, and the band would have to rehearse every week, and so he would just every 2 weeks go to the record store and, oh, Mr. Lee, how you doing? Oh, you need this, that, that. And so we would just come home with boxes and boxes and boxes of records, and I would inherit all the records that were flops, just so I'm probably the first person that likes the single that didn't work. Like, the band would take Brick House, but I took Fancy Dancer, or, right. Whatever the hit was, the band will keep that, but I get the leftovers. And so that's kind of how I started my obsession with collecting. Now, to hear 200,000 is a lot, but even what I said earlier, what's happening now is a lot of libraries are closing, a lot of jazz programs are shutting down in colleges, and there's always an email that I get, hey, Questlove, we're, this Birmingham, Alabama jazz program shutting down, and we got these 19,000 records that we're going to have to trash. And I can't watch a collection go in the trash. So I'll say in the last year and a half, or 2 to 3 years, I've just been taking in record collections that otherwise would have just been history. So,
do you get in there and wallow around? I read a thing you wrote in the New York Times maybe it was after the pandemic, about using that moment as inspiration, that you had a moment to really dig in.
When I was when was I ever less busy? But when I was less busy, I had a Sunday ritual, which was usually on Sunday, I called it pruning, but when I wake up, probably spend 3 to 5 hours just listening to music I don't know yet. Combing through it, and maybe if I'm lucky, 20 songs are good enough to make my final, okay, I like this song now, that sort of thing. I think it might be humanly impossible to go through, like, even with 200,000 records, maybe I'll just skim through maybe 15% of it. Because we all have our comfort zone. We're always going to go to that Stevie Wonder record or that. Right. So for me, it's kind of hard to do now that I have other responsibilities. Sure. But I try to take at least an hour or so just to discover stuff I haven't peeped yet. Yeah.
Well, to stay on that theme of curation, Summer of Soul was also a major curation of a largely forgotten Harlem Cultural Festival. Share with us, how you discovered that and those early moments. I'm going to assume when you watched that footage for the first time, it was like, holy shit, this is amazing, and thinking how best to bring this to life.
All right, so when I was at the Tonight Show, my manager now, but back then she was my assistant. Her name is Zara, and she told me that, these two guys want to come in, they're archivists or whatever, and they have some sort of film footage and they want you to direct it. And I happen to know that the the jam band Fish was on. And whenever Fish comes to the Tonight Show, that's sort of when the crazy starts happening, as far as like fans like sleeping overnight, whatever. So it started chastising. I'm like, come on, man, you should know better than that. They're just Fish fans trying to get in, like the whole like, we'll come to the show and then we'll show them this footage. And so they pitched me, and I instantly didn't believe, like, why would you want me to handle those things? I mean, this is the classic case of them seeing in me what I didn't see in myself. And we did the whole, like, yeah, so we'll stop by next week with the hard drive and we'll show you some footage. And yeah, sure, we'll do lunch. Great. Thinking I'm never seeing them again. I was like mad at Jared. Like, why would you get suckered? You know how people are trying to get tickets to this show. Sure enough, they come back and they show me the footage. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? And I couldn't believe it. And then again, the doubt thing happened where I was like, well, something must be wrong with the audio. Like, why are you not going to Spike or Ava? Like,
sure.
Just let me be the Ronald McDonald and let someone be Ray Kroc and really make the decisions. Like, why are you coming to me? So it took me like 7 months to even accept the fact that it was my destiny to do this. But once I fell into it, being the obsessive I am, pretty much, there's a trick I learned from Prince, which was Prince would notoriously always have Pixar's Finding Nemo on loop, because he said that's his aquarium. So whenever you go to his crib, he has like every TV playing Finding Nemo. So I started doing the same thing, which was, I didn't want it to feel like work, so I just kept every television in my house on constant 24-hour loop, and in my office at work or anywhere I was. And if I saw something interesting, I just took notes. And that's pretty much how I took in the 40 hours of performances for Summer of Soul. But that's also generally how I watch TV. Like, I've not stopped watching Soul Train since 1997, since I got those episodes, so,
I was actually going to ask you backstage when the Soul Train documentary's coming, but we'll talk about that later. Summer of Soul, Sly Lives, and we're going to talk about that some more. Earth, Wind, and Fire. By the way, did y'all see the trades? HBO 2026.
We got a home. Yeah.
We're going to get there. You've been excavating and interrogating a particular moment of music and black cultural history in the 60s and 70s. Why this particular era, beyond just the musical genius? Is there something in particular about the intersections of race, music, and social change that you're after?
All right, so the timing of Summer of Soul isn't lost on me. In itself, yes, it's a beautiful work of art, and the thing is, though, it's the timing of it. And I'm always obsessed with the science of how things work. And when I was teaching at NYU, my second year, I was teaching about Thriller. And at the end of the class, once I was done, like the last week or the last 2 weeks of it, we sort of talked about the after effects of what Thriller represents. And, I had to take note that the high of that success was a dragon that Michael Jackson kept chasing, because his next thing was like, I'm going to sell 100 million albums and 200 million, achievement. It became more about quantity instead of the quality of it. Like, what did Thriller achieve? Not like how great it sounded. And it sounded great, but it became more about quantity instead of quality. And the thing is that I understand that Summer of Soul arriving in people's lives at the place where they needed something to encourage them to, like a burst of joy. Like, it came at the right time in July of 2021, right when we were coming outside. So it was like the perfect, I hate to say this, perfect Walmart greeter or whatever, like the thing that, why did I say that example? So the timing of it, you can't replicate. And I understand that that's the emotion that people, that's what they were responding to. So what I didn't know then was how important joy was. You know, happiness and joy, those are like light in the ass terms that we always seem to dismiss. And I didn't realize in our story, like we know about the protesting, we know about the bloodshed and the tears and the pain and the sorrow and the struggle, but we were also celebratory and happy. And to see that in that time period, I think was important as a blueprint for how we should act accordingly right now. So once I realized that, then every project I did, I wanted to see what the side story was. So in the case of Sly Stone, a person to whom was just handed this responsibility of his blackness, his privilege, his kind of the first person out the gate post civil rights period that the world was his oyster, and he winds up self-sabotaging it. And a lot of the artists that I'm associated with, I get asked all the time, like, well, why does da-da-da keep acting up? Or what's da-da-da's problem? Or they only have one job. All they have to do is show up and, you know. And I got so tired of trying to answer, so I decided to use the Sly film to really explain what the deeper conversation is, because there's a lot of guilt in success. There's a lot of the ability of you not being able to save everyone, the feeling you get that you get singled out. And, you know, it's no coincidence that I might have been going through the same, what Woodstock was to Sly was maybe what the post-Oscar was for me. So I think my mom, the night she saw it, she's like, I see what you're doing. That was your film. And I was like, damn, busted. Yeah, so. And in the case of Earth, Wind, and Fire, I've been dying for us to have the one conversation that we've not had as a people, which is our spiritual practice. And, you know, there's a difference between religion, which we are just connected to and attached to. And Earth, Wind, and Fire is a band that geniusly tricked its audience into metaphysics, you know. Whereas in religion, like, God is a figure that's unapproachable and somewhere up there 1 billion miles away, whereas God is a part of you. And you don't look up, you look within. And so I wanted a project that can somehow plant seeds of what I think we need to survive today in 1925, which is silence, not doom scrolling, I used to sleep to the news cycle, keeping on as I, you know, because I got to know what's going on. I got to know, you know, just like feeding. And this is why a lot of us, and I don't think it's a coincidence at all that the rampant amount of black artists who have died, you know, prematurely. Oh, yeah. A lot of that disease that we get. So I want to use this Earth, Wind, and Fire film to, it's a story about metaphysics, but I'm using Earth, Wind, and Fire as an introductory point.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my next question you kind of began to touch on. By the way, Sly Lives, a.k.a. The Burden of Black Genius, on Hulu. If you've not seen it, it's masterful. But you employ this theory framework of black genius that has been used before. And rather than me explain it, what were you after there with that thesis question? And what did you learn through your interviews with artists, both on screen, but also the people who came up to you after who had a theory that they wanted to share with you?
One of the hardest things about doing that project, like again, Summer Soul spoiled me because it was a barrel of joy, all over the place. Sly Lives was different simply because, kind of like a therapist, I didn't realize the amount of trauma dumping that I had to take on with the interview subjects. First of all, it's a lot of Jedi mind tricking. There's a lot of mistrust. I know the game of the politically correct answer or the showbiz answer, and
Sure.
All right, tell me how you really feel about, and there was a lot of trauma that band had to go through just to be the happy, shiny example of Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. I mean, it was an intersectional, interracial, culturally mixed band, literally manifested from the "I Have a Dream" speech. But inside it was a lot of pain that they had to carry, and suddenly I was carrying that pain. And I went overtime as far as like my therapy bills and all those things because I didn't realize that taking on their pain, that I would internalize it myself. So there was a period where, when it was over, like the way I sort of had to cry out just all that I was holding in, just holding their pain in. But then it also made me want to just reevaluate my position as a leader. Because hearing all the bandmates speak, then I started questioning my own leadership. And, I've gone on record saying, like, I've been a reluctant leader. I hate leadership and making hard decisions and let my manager deal with it. And we'd rather be likable than to live in our light. And so letting that go and really like owning who you are and all that stuff, thank you, I appreciate that. That's a lot of work. Like in the last 5 years, like the insane amount of work I had to do just in terms of therapy is astounding. It was necessary, but it's for us to be free. I think we have to get in touch with the thing that we avoid the most, which is like the emotional component of our lives. So,
Amen. Saturday Night Live music.
yes,
Ladies and gentlemen, you watched 900 episodes.
I'm very obsessive, as you can see.
And you created a 7.5-minute cold open video with a master music mix. And about 3 minutes in, Vanilla Ice, Dave Matthews, and Freddie Mercury come on screen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, y'all buckle up. This is about to get rough. And it's a masterful, two thoughts in my head. First, this is a work of genius. And second, why hasn't this been done before? I had never seen video mixed in that way. So for us and all the people who admire you, talk to us about the inspiration to create that mix. And yeah, I'll just leave it there.
So, all right. So when I work at 30 Rock, but I attend 30 Rock University. When you go to 30 Rockefeller Plaza and you're inside of that ecosystem of Saturday Night Live, The Tonight Show, Seth Meyers, The Today Show, like MSNBC, like it's literally like college. Like Tariq and I have been there for 16 years now, so I kind of consider that we're in our senior year of college when we start out in first grade. Right though? Seriously? And so the thing is, I was summoned to the 17th floor. And when Lauren calls you to the office, your life is going to change one way or another. And I didn't know which way my life was going to turn. So instantly I started going through all my social media like, wait, did I say something about all of his shows or whatever? And he shocked me. He was like, you know, I seen the movie. He watched it twice. I didn't know he was such a music fan, even though he created, you know, that platform. And so he got to me early and basically said, like, you know, and 2025 is the 50th anniversary, and based on what I saw with Summer of Soul, like I give you the responsibility of telling the musical history behind SNL. And so with 2 years, you know, ahead of me starting, I pretty much just determined that I was going to watch somewhere between 3 to 7 episodes every day to get to the end. I didn't run out of gas, but I was running out of time by like 2002. So, you know, but if you're doing a story in SNL, you know, every SNL starts with a cold open. And I knew I had to have a cold open for the ages. Now, the way that I hear music is just different than how the average person hears music. When a song comes on, instantly, think of like A Beautiful Mind or whatever, like the number figures and all that stuff, like instantly in my head, I'm like, okay, well, all right, this is in G minor, and then the bridge is in B flat, and then the song is probably 98 BPM. So I'm already categorizing what the song is in case I have to DJ it one day. And so pretty much I just went through the entire history of music in SNL just by keeping these charts. And, you know, also credit my editor, John McDonald, who works at The Tonight Show and is also, hears music the same way. Initially, I didn't want to do that because I just thought, like, the clearance part of it's just going to be a nightmare, taking all these songs and amalgamating them and making a master mix. But I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And sure enough, that was the easy part. It took us 9 months to put that 7 minutes together, working on like maybe 15 to 20 seconds a week, adding on to it. But then relationships are everything. So kind of hand in hand, I had to go to each artist and basically say, look, you know, we used 2 seconds of this and sort of showed them, and everyone from Eminem to Taylor to Billie Eilish to the Prince estate, like literally had to go to each person, show them, and kind of just guilt them, like, do you want to be a part of history or not? Yeah, I want to be a part of this. So the only person I couldn't get to was, there was a genius moment with, I was going to have Luciano, I wanted a scream off, you know, when Mariah Carey ends Vision of Love. And Luciano Pavarotti, Mariah Carey in the same key, sort of. It would have been awesome, but that's the only person I couldn't clear because I would have had to fly to Italy just to show him the 1 second to get approval. So.
Well, I know that. Was there someone that you couldn't get in, like Fishbone or Brick or something?
I wanted it to be a 20-minute thing, but in classic overkill Ahmir mode, they're like, dude, like 7 minutes is enough. Like, we get the point. So.
Well, it's masterful for sure. Earth, Wind & Fire you've addressed. I appreciate that. Do you give Fred White some?
Yeah, everyone gets covered, yes.
So
absolutely.
what we're talking about is Fred White was the drummer with Earth, Wind & Fire from 1974 to 1984. And you'll look at a list of the top 100 drummers, and he's never listed. And you think, this is the greatest band, and Fred White is not in it. And that's the brother of Maurice and Verdine.
No, the entire band. The thing is that Earth, Wind & Fire is probably the most popular band that you know the least about.
Yeah.
And so my thing was just to always humanize them. Yeah. And I don't think people are ready because when we think of Earth, Wind & Fire now, you know, we tend to think of like the outlandish costumes and the Egyptology and all those things. But, you know, it was a struggle. and probably one of their greatest stories ever is, like, Philadelphia is a notorious town, a notorious fan town. You will get booed. Philly's very proud to have booed Beyonce during the halftime NBA finals. Like, we will boo. We threw like batteries at Santa Claus. That's the town that Philly is. A very disrespectful, type of place, and we sort of proud of that. Earth, Wind, and Fire comes to Philadelphia, and to the audience that's used to what an R&B group should look like, tuxedo, suits, everyone dressed the same, thank you, and bowing. The thing of the Temptations, like, that's the
Sure.
They weren't ready for, Capizios or Gauchos or people with their shirts off and everything. So they're playing the Uptown, which is like Philly's version of the Apollo Theater, but worse. Like, they might run you out of town if you're not good. And so Maurice White comes with this genius plan of how to win this audience over. And he tells the guys, just like right before they go on stage, do not go to your instruments. We're going to go and get in the lotus position and meditate for 6 minutes in front of the audience. But what happens is, he's like, but whatever you do, don't break. Just stare them dead in the eye. And sure enough, Bill Burr did the same thing when he came to Philly, which was literally, after 4 minutes, the audience started getting scared. Like, wait, we're not scaring them. They're throwing stuff on stage and whatever. And they just took it. And after 4 minutes, the audience got quiet. Like, ooh, that didn't work. And then the band played, and then, of course, they won them over. And so, but there's many a story like that. Like the night that P-Funk blew them off the stage. Like, so there's a human story behind this that I'm also telling. That I think it's important for people to know, that you just don't start at the acme, the top point of it all.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have one last question for you. So we've deemed you a trailblazer, which means you've blazed a trail for others to follow. All the greats, Quincy Jones, Miles Davis, Art Blakey, Prince, were very committed to younger generations. What advice do you now give younger cats who are now looking to you for wisdom and inspiration, now that we're men of a certain age?
Okay, so whenever, I'll be in the airport and, a parent will come up like, hey, give my kid some advice. Go ahead, Questlove, and put me on the spot like at 6 in the morning.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
And so I used to dread that, because I always felt that, like, whatever the usual, follow your dreams, kid, whatever. But here's the thing, though. I actually mean it now. And, whenever people ask me, and I'm not saying, like, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Like, what led me to the place where I am now is not necessarily the blueprint for everyone, but for me, what's working, if anyone sort of observes the craziness that's been my life for the last 5 years, like, I consider myself 5. Like, I don't even consider what life was before 2020. And a lot has happened before 2020, like with the roots and everything. Like, I'm not dismissing that at all, but just for me as a human being, I always tell them to do 4 things, which is, 1, literally the first 20 minutes of my day is 5 minutes of gratitude. And yes, when I say this, I felt just as silly and dumb doing this, but as with anything, scientifically, I guess, if you do something 18 times in a row, it becomes routine, and then after that becomes a habit. So now, like, it's a great addiction. So 5 minutes in gratitude. I mean, it could be real gratitude, like, oh, I had a really good day yesterday. Like, we made up a nice song, or, I had good lasagna. If I don't have anything to say, I just say thank you a bunch. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Breathing exercises. Important to do that. And that's where I usually just sit in silence. the temptation to not look at the phone or to turn on TV or to check my email, whatever. 5 minutes of doing that. 5 minutes of stretching. Most people go hardcore with, doing yoga, whatever. Like stretching is the minimum you can do if you're a lazy person by heart. The last thing, which was always the hardest thing, affirmations. Get out of bed, go straight to the bathroom mirror, and be nice to yourself for 5 minutes, which that was probably, it took me 18 months to really to own it, So it's not, yes, it seems like very silly at the time, and I don't feel like, look at yourself, like what kind of winner have you? And so, but you have to repetition and habits, like you have to just go through that and push through the self-doubt and all those things. And I do it, yes, as betterment for me, but also just betterment for, we're artists now, and now I think I take that very seriously as far as leadership is concerned. So those are the first 4 things that I tell people to do. That's important that you work in here. And, I do have regrets that I wish I've known this when I was 30.
Amen.
But better now than never, so that's good.
It's great advice for everybody, but young artists who beat themselves up. Absolutely. Ahmir, thank you so much. It was a beautiful conversation. Congratulations. Give it up for the drummer, Ahmir Questlove Thompson.
Thank you.